My name is Sydney Halbert, and I'm really excited to be interviewing you today.
Awesome. It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Was there any specific moment when you knew that you wanted to run for Congress, and what was it?
Yeah, so I knew after Donald Trump got elected that I wanted to get more involved. And honestly, it was a process after that, but somebody ended up asking me if I would run. And I thought about it for a while, and I knew that it historically it takes women many times to be asked before they actually run. And I decided that, you know what, that's one of the reasons that there's less than 20% of the seats in Congress are held by women. And I'm going to do it. So I decided if we passed this legislation that I was working on, I would do it. We passed that legislation March 7th, and the next day was International Women's Day, and that was 2017, and that's when I announced my candidacy.
To all the young people on the fence about voting at all, what would you say to them?
I would say that this is our moment. We have an incredible amount of power. The fact of voting means that you have the power to change everything in this country. And young people make up the largest voting bloc in the entire country, but the system at large is counting on us not voting. But if we actually do vote, then it can change this entire country. And if we do, then that's where we're able to make progress on all of the issues that we care about. And it's that simple. It's just a matter of showing up. And less than 1% of seats in Congress are held by people under the age of 40. So if we want people in Congress who are representing the things that we care about, or representing, climate change, when we're the ones who are going to be having to deal with the effects of climate change in the future, affordable housing, student debt, healthcare, all of these issues that, frankly, an older generation just doesn't understand in the same ways that we do, then we need people who are going to fight for us, and that takes us getting mobilized, making sure that we vote.
Millennials have been unfairly branded as lazy and entitled, but you're doing an excellent job of fighting that label. Do you see yourself as sort of a champion for your generation?
I absolutely do. I think that that's a totally unfair label, and the hardest working, most passionate, and compassionate people that I know are millennials. And I think that the difficulties, the challenges that our generation faces are ones that previous generations just don't have any comprehension of, whether it's the overwhelming amount of student debt, or how hard it is to buy a home, and how that's so far out of reach for people of my generation, how people are putting off having kids because they simply don't think that they'll be able to afford it. That's not even a concept that resonates with the generation before us. So I think that it's completely unfair to call us lazy. Having to live with your parents is like almost a fact of life at this point. Living with your parents as an adult is almost a fact of life, and that's just not something that older generations understand. And so I think showing that we are the ones who are fighting for change, who are preparing for the next generation, who are saying that these are the challenges that are facing our nation, are facing our world in a major way, and we have to be ready for them. We have to be dealing with them proactively, and we're the ones who are stepping up to fight for it. That's how we're going to fight that label, and I'm part of that. This campaign is part of it. The people who are mobilized across the country and the world are part of it, and it takes us really doing something about it.
So, to all those at home, can you tell us the importance of this election? Is it the most important election of our lifetime thus far?
Oh, it's definitely the most important of our election of our lifetime thus far. I don't think we can overstate that this truly is the state of our democracy, depending on this, right? The nomination and soon-to-be confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court is going to be the smallest margin by which a Supreme Court justice has ever been confirmed. And it's completely unacceptable that it's become that partisan. So one of the most basic institutions in our government is now something that is no less pure than partisan politics, and that has to change. So I think it's become that way because of years that have led up to it, but it's come to a head with Donald Trump and the rhetoric that he has spread, and it can get so much worse, right? Like the rights that we've in many ways taken for granted as women, as people of color, as people who have thought that we have the right to vote, like all of that can go away. It's not something that is guaranteed, especially with someone with a Supreme Court that is partisan and that is accountable to the GOP and not to the Constitution. So it means that it's that much more important for us to put checks and balances into our government, to actually have people who are accountable to voters, not to special interest groups and not to party politics. But in order to have that, we have to have people show up and vote, and it's that simple.
So in your district, do you think the LGBTQ community is being adequately represented? And if you get like elected, do you think you're gonna like do something to make sure that it is?
I don't think the LGBT community is adequately represented across the board. I think that, just through the course of this campaign, the amount of misinformation that is out there and the fact that people still just really don't understand so much about it is very clear. It's become even more clear to me now. I think that I live in Los Angeles, Los Angeles County, right near metropolitan Los Angeles. So I think I'm still pretty lucky, but I recognize that across the country, working in the issue of homelessness, such a high percentage of homeless youth are people who had to run away from home because they are part of the LGBT community. And so I think that one of the reasons that I decided to say openly that I'm bi and be clear about that, despite the fact that it might have made parts of my campaign more challenging in a Republican district, is because I think that I have to be a champion for that. I have to make it okay for other people to be able to come out about it, and I know that I can be a voice for our community in Congress. And part of it is just saying, like, look, I'm here and I'm a normal person, and we're regular people who deserve to be treated as everyone else is.
So Steve Knight hasn't been very accessible to this district. Would you try and be more available to help out your district, like locally, like on a local level?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first things that I see as a priority is making sure that I'm representing everyone in my district, even if they didn't vote for me. Part of that is having real office hours where I will meet with anybody. It's also holding town halls that are, including teletown halls where it's, making sure that people are able to ask the questions that they want to ask. We're representing a district of 700,000 plus people, so it's going to be difficult to talk with everyone one-on-one, but I think figuring out ways of using digital communications and the fact that we have the internet, we have texting, we've got all of these different ways of reaching people now. It's my job to figure out how to be as accessible as possible in an era of new media, and also doing it in person and going to where people are, where they're already meeting, not forcing them to come to me, is something that I've taken from working in the field of homelessness. Knowing that you can't expect people to come to you, you have to actually go and meet them where they're at, is something I plan to bring to Congress as well.
So we're going to start doing the lightning round, which are going to be some short, quick, fun, easy questions that you can answer in one word if you'd like. How have you been relaxing your brain throughout this campaign?
Not a lot. Pretty much only when I sleep.
Yeah, that makes sense. What kind of mindless snacks do you have around the office, and what are your favorites? Like junk food?
Oh, we are a big fan of red vines in our office. We have a lot of that. We also, that's the consistent thing. We've got a lot of other random things, but that's the one that we always have.
So, what are 3 of your desert island books or movies?
So one of my desert island books is Alas Babylon. Probably a lot of people haven't read it. Handmaid's Tale is another one, and unfortunately it's becoming more and more of a scary possibility at this point. Let's see, what else would be a good one? I like Stephen King a lot, so I would say The Stand is another one that I would read on a desert island.
Which superhero would you most want to have on your campaign team?
Wonder Woman.
Yeah. What's your Starbucks order, and have you had a pumpkin spice latte this season yet?
I had a pumpkin spice latte this morning. So sometimes it's a pumpkin spice latte, but I also sometimes get a cold brew with an extra shot and 2 Splendas and some half and half. So I'm one of those annoying people.
No, that's all right. So, the last one is, why did you choose purple as your primary campaign color?
So a couple different reasons. One is I wanted a bright color that stood out. You see people's campaign colors all the time. They're just red, blue, whatever. It's pretty boring. So I wanted something that was clearly distinct, and it was meaningful for me because we're in a purple district, so it's not Democrat or Republican. It's purple. But I also, it's I think I took that from. I felt like there was a subtle undertone of pride within that, right? So LGBT pride, and also it's just fun and young and different, and it stands out, and it's something that I haven't seen any other campaign do. So we're rocking it.
All right, well, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you.